prophecies, revelations, economic collapse, martial law, social and civil war, aliens, human hybrids, Nephilim, the Great Deception, world chaos, tsunamis. You want to stay tuned for special edition End Time Revelations with Pastor Henry Shaffer and Pastor Steve Hall.
Well, hello and welcome, CSRA. I'm your host to another episode of It's Really Supernatural. Will be on this coming Friday, but you're listening to Project SEER, and it is Thursday, the 24th of March, and we are really excited about what God's going to do here today in the studio. We got a great lineup here for you, and man, I'm telling you what, brother, let me tell you something I've been working something brand new about.
Yeah. We've been working on something called Blue Beam.
Yeah, Project Blue Beam. But let me tell you before we get to Project Blue Beam, let me tell you something brand new that I've been working on so we can tell everybody about.
Oh, you talking about our webpage?
Yeah, webpage or our Facebook page. Got a Facebook page that's out there now, and what I want you to do, everybody, if you know how Facebook is, and I don't do Facebook. I mean, I do have Facebook. That's how I build the pages, but I don't do Facebook.
I don't either.
You pastor.
Too time consuming.
You pastor and all the stuff. You got to read all that. It's called gossip. It's what it is. It's just written gossip. You know what I mean? So anyway, we're not talking about all that kind of wild stuff today, but it's just kind of like gossip. So we don't do that. So what we do, we use it as a tool, though, to be able to share the things that God has given us. So here's what we got. We have a brand new Facebook page out. We just built it last night, so kind of just bear with us there. But it is Project SEER. Facebook, go to Facebook and type in Project SEER, and you'll go right straight to our Facebook page and all the episodes that we have already done. I think there's 9 of them on there now, 9 videos. You can click on them and boom, 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 boom. You can watch all of them if you'd like. And just leave comments. Hey, leave a comment. Got a question? And you got something there that you would like for us to discuss or talk about?
Yeah.
Put it in the comment section there. We'll get to you there to be able to do it. But if you think it's real time and we're walking around looking at a Facebook page for projects here, that's not happening. But if you leave your comment there, we will make sure we get to it. And you got something you want to listen to or what have you, just put it there or, a subject.
Right.
And we'll do it.
So, Facebook is great, but for people like us, we just don't have the time to put our face in Facebook all the time. As a matter of fact, I usually get up pretty early and I'm running till late. And I just when I sit down sometimes, my wife, Sandra, she'll be over there looking through the pages, just seeing what people's posted. And then if she sees something good, she'll say, hey, look at this. And that's my Facebook time.
There you go. That's exactly what I like. And that's the way I do it in that. So, but I go to the radio station web page, Facebook page, WCC 99.9 FM. Go there. And I want you to do something for us is just tell everybody while we're beginning here, I need you to like everything. Like when you go to our Facebook, like us. If you go to the
helps ratings,
like us. But not only that, here's what I want you to do is go to YouTube, because our YouTube channel is Studio WUCC. That's where we normally drive everybody. So all the live shows, you go to Studio WUCC, click on that. You'll see every show we've done, I know, over the past year for all of the people who do them. But, the people like the shows. But what I need you to do is subscribe.
Okay.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. After we get so many subscriptions on the YouTube channel, we can broadcast to them to YouTube. And there's a certain way that we can do it, but you have to have, I think it's like 1,000.
Okay.
Once you get so many of them, they'll let you broadcast right straight on in live, coming on into the events. You just can't just say, I want to broadcast to YouTube.
Right.
There's a criteria. So if you will subscribe to our YouTube channel, Studio WUCC, then we can get on there and we can stop going through some other venues, but we go straight to YouTube, and I think it'll be a lot better for us.
Like us and subscribe to the...
Like us, like every button, subscribe to everything you see on there. It's going to be good.
And we appreciate it.
Yeah. Are you about ready to begin today here?
Yeah, I'm excited about what God is revealing as possibilities here in the last days. And we want to kind of throw a disclaimer out already. You know, these are not necessarily things we're looking absolutely is going to happen, that we believe that everything we say is going to come to pass.
Right.
We are throwing out examples that we could see as being used by the enemy to deceive the Christians and the populace of the world, Christian or non-Christian. Doesn't matter your religious background or affiliation. It is ways that Satan has devised, and, man is just puppets a lot of times in Satan's arsenal to deceive the whole world. And it is ways that we see that Satan can use that maybe others have not thought about this before. And I know that the old mentality in the old prophetic study of scriptures, we didn't talk about things like blue beam and aliens and so much the things that we deal with right now on the show.
Yeah.
But it seems the more I study it, the more applicable it becomes to the end time scenario. And I believe that if you just look at your Bible and you just teach prophecy straight out of the Bible and you don't open your eyes to see what's going on in the real world,
around us.
It's happening, but there's a new twist.
Right.
The technology has brought in so many possibilities that Satan has already utilized to destroy the human family. Just look at the www, that World Wide Web, and how many families it's destroyed.
Right. Already.
How much sin is multiplied.
And think about how we're connected, interconnected all across the world. And how can you see one world event happen
all around the world
at one time? You know, it might be 3 to 5 seconds delay, but all around the world. Those kind of things happen.
So I'm saying that Satan's already using technology. He is ahead of the game. The church is trying to play catch up with what Satan has already organized and already way ahead of us in this digital age.
Yeah, but brother, you're doing that all newfangled stuff. You know, we don't need all that.
Well, that's when you got your head in the sand as a Christian and you're not using what we have available. And Satan is going to continue to use it and master this end-time deception by using all the technology that's available in this dimension, in this time frame we're living in.
Well, so let's talk about the subject. Let me broach that subject here. Now, you know, I called you last week when we were talking about, I said, brother, let me just show you something that God has just, had to just come across. Now, a lot of those people out there, I know, have already listened to this. So there's certain people in certain areas have already discovered all this. But God's bringing this to our attention, and I believe it is. And this one here is an operation that is called Project Bluebeam. That's what we're going to be talking about, Project Bluebeam. And when I started looking at it, I'm going, oh, what is this thing here? What is Project Bluebeam? Because, I'm saying, what is the deceptions out there? Because our program is a Project SEER special edition of End Time Revelations.
Right.
What are the things that are out there that could, like you say, to deceive the church? What is Satan going to use? So I believe he's just not going to use one thing. No, he's going to use many, many things to be able to deceive. So let's talk about Project Bluebeam. I'm going to let you kind of just go ahead. We just started studying it, and all of a sudden it just pulled us deeper and deeper into it. Now,
it's like a vacuum.
Yeah, it's just like, where does this thing exist, and when did it start, and how far back does it go, and what are they doing with it now?
So here is what caught my attention when you called me and say, hey, look into Project Bluebeam. And I began to study that, and I'm thinking to myself, I've already seen this because I have studied and looked over many of the YouTube channels that deal with 9/11 and the bringing down of the Twin Towers. And I might blow somebody's, mind right now and hurt their feelings to tell them that America brought down those towers. It was not brought down by terrorists in a foreign plane or in a plane that took off from one of our airports. When you look at the video, you will not see any insignia on any of the planes. When you look at the video, you will see a gray airplane. Yeah. A gray airplane.
That's
People on site, live interviewed on the site, asked, what did you see? They said, we saw a military plane painted gray fly into that building. That's what they said. They didn't identify any aircraft, any carrier.
Yeah.
They couldn't because there was no insignia. It was a hologram, which is part of what we're going to talk about in Project Bluebeam.
Yeah. Well, so, I know several years ago we were discussing this, or, all about 9/11 and different things like that, and people who have said that this is what they saw. You know, like
Yeah.
buildings that swallowed the airplanes. And 'cause if you look at them, did they find any of the boxes?
They found nothing
you
of
see
the
what
airplane.
And do you think about what went out the other side? You know, like you go in this one side,
Nothing.
Nothing comes out the other side.
Here's the other thing. When these planes hit, okay, they disappeared into the building. I have seen, and I'll tell you, I've researched this. Planes landing hard on an airstrip, the tails will break off, the tips of the wings will break off, parts of the plane will just fall off because they are not solid steel.
You can tell what it was.
Yes, because when this supposedly is hitting, not a dust, not nothing off the plane actually falls on the outside of the building. Now, I'm a contractor.
Yeah.
I built steel buildings. I can tell you the steel columns in there would have seared a wing off of that plane, and that plane wing would not have flown through a 2-foot steel, solid steel
the wing would have fell
column.
off.
The wing would have fell off on the outside of the building.
Right.
Okay, so think about it. This thing disappeared absolutely like it sucked it in, and there was not any debris falling off.
Steve, you know what you sound like? A conspiracy theorist.
I am more than that. I am convinced it's not even a theory to me anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not theorizing. I'm telling you what I can see.
Well, I think what happened is that when we saw Project Bluebeam and we started realizing,
there it is.
This is what it was.
It's already been used.
It's already been used. Now, listen, it's here. How about when the airplane hit the Pentagon? Did they find any of that?
How about the first reporter on the ground, live on the air, saying there is a huge crater in the Pentagon?
No plane.
I cannot see a plane.
No plane.
There's
nothing.
no debris of a plane here.
Right. And what about the one in
He disappeared. That reporter disappeared.
Project Bluebeam or Black Ops or something. But anyway, what about the airplane in the field that went down?
The one the plane disappeared, except for a little bit of debris that could have been hauled in a bed of a pickup truck.
That's not a whole lot, though.
No, well, you know, when we saw the Russian plane got shot down, right?
Yeah.
You seen the plane shoot.
It was thrown everywhere.
It was hundreds of yards, but there was big pieces of it.
Big pieces
I
of the
saw
airplane.
the original footage before they edited it, brother, and they showed the bodies on national television. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
It was not blurred out yet. The first reports that came out of the Russian plane being shot down, listen, they showed bodies, they showed plane, they showed the engine, and when you see, going back to what you talked about, 9/11, the one that landed in the field, I think it was somewhere in Pennsylvania, there was nothing like that there. Brother, this was all a hoax.
Wow.
How about building number 7?
Right.
No plane hit it, and it was not directly beside the Twin Towers.
Right.
It had no debris that hit it from the Twin Towers, and yet suddenly a few snap, crackle, and pops, and that building fell down just like building 1 and 2.
You're right.
I'm just saying Bluebeam has already been used, and it deceived the world, and everybody stuck their head in the sand and bought the whole thing hook, line, and sinker.
So the thing is that, remember how they were saying that explosions went off throughout the building?
Yes.
And that the building just collapsed, boom, 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 like it was designed to drop straight down.
And it was.
Of course, now, you know, they say that the way it was is the way it was designed, you know, the way it was built, the way it was structured and everything. But listen, I'm going, this is almost virtually impossible.
It was impossible
for something like this to happen. But anyway, if that was Project Blue, so let's just throw, here's the thing we're talking about. Was that Project Bluebeam? You know, was it with 9/11 Project Bluebeam? What other things that are out there that would say, so what is Project Bluebeam? What's the purpose of it, and what is it there to do? Of course, we see if it brought about deception of that, what is the end time deception that the enemy wants to do with it? So what we did, we found on the internet a document that's called The Great Hoax, and it is by Sergei Monstad. And I gave you kind of like a little outline of it right there, Steve. And this man gave an outline. Now you can go on the website on the web, and you can search for this document, and you can read it yourself because it's a transcript of a meeting that he had, a speech that he was giving. So they wanted to go ahead and put it, you know, in writing, in what he had said though. But what he was talking about, this message was given. Let's see what it was. It was given like 11 years before, like 1983. So after, so it's like in the 90s when he is giving this this message, and he refers back to this picking up and starting like in 1983, Project Bluebeam. And so he's trying to discover what is Project Bluebeam. And so when you go through there, and it's called NASA's Project Bluebeam. It's just not Bluebeam. It's called NASA's Project Bluebeam. And he says, what they are deciding to do, it's designed to do, is to abolish, is to bring about a one world order.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to do it in certain ways. So let me just I'm not even going to try to read this. I'm just going to put it out there. Is that what I know that what they want to do with this here is that they want to bring about a one world order of this group that is over Project Bluebeam, and they're going to use this tool. Now, I believe Satan's going to use many tools.
That's right.
But this is one of the tools and one of the ways that he's going to do that. So here's what was written in that report. It says that 4 steps that they're going to do is that one is going to be able to bring about earthquakes in certain places around the world that they make these earthquakes happen.
That's correct.
And to do an earthquake, and it's going to be around religious artifacts, around stones, or around caves or something like this, where they've already found some religious artifacts already. And in that, they're going to find out that there's going to be some writings and some things in there that's going to try to discredit all the religions that are of the world.
Right.
That this is the real way, the way things are supposed to be. They're going to find some artifacts in that. The second thing that they're going to do is to be able to do holographic images in the sky.
That is what is so impressive.
To me, yes.
Yeah.
To be able to do holographic images in the sky and over regions and areas of over regions and areas, like if you're in America, you're going to have the white Jesus, false white Jesus. You're going to have that in the sky. And if you're in the Middle East, or you're going to have Muhammad, or you're going to have Hare Krishna or something like that. If you're going around Buddha on around to Asia and those type places. But what's going to happen is that they're going to broadcast in the sky that this is your God, and he's talking to you.
Yeah.
And he is going to be speaking, telling you. Now, you got to realize that you could open up and look at in the sky and see this. And it's
going to look real. It's not going to look
it's going
like
to look
a flat
real.
screen. It's 3D.
3D, right. And to be able to start speaking to you about that the rural religions, they were all wrong. This is the right way. Follow this path here. And they're all about setting up that. Now, I'm telling y'all, this is Project Bluebeam.
Yeah.
And this is what this man was citing and stating in his report. And this is all across the web of what this is. Now, some people who are not aware of it, some people don't know what Nephilims are.
That's right.
Some people's never heard of deliverance. Some people's never heard of these other things. I'm sorry. That's why we're doing what we're doing here. That's what our program is.
Education.
So it's to abolish all Christian traditional religions in order to replace them by a one-world religion based on the cult of man. It's to abolish all the national identity.
Yeah.
They want to wipe away national pride in order to get a world pride, like we're the world, to abolish the family as it's known today, to replace it by individuals all working for the glory of one world government, and to destroy all the individual, anything that's artistic that you have, scientific creating minds, and to implement the one world's government, one mind sight. It's all to drive that. So it's going to have one person at the head of that. So when you see all this in the sky going on, all this happening, now at the same time, when you have their artifacts found, you're going to have this holograph happening in the sky, to be able to the point to where they're going to be able to fake a rapture, and see people going up because that's what we're expecting to happen, that people are going to be duped into think about what's going on. And another thing was this one here. Well, how would they do communications? How would this being in the skies, no matter where you speak, and they're going to be using extremely low frequency ELF waves, ELF. You can look at these up on the web, or low frequency waves. We're talking about like 3 hertz to 3,000 hertz in that low frame, there. So it's going to be to the point to where they have already, and they already do this. They can already put a speaker up, low frequency, and you walk in front of this low frequency area, and you will hear voices talking to you.
And it feels and sounds like they say in your head.
In your head, exactly, in your head. So they're going to be able to communicate this way, to be able to send the messages, whatever messages they want send, in every language, in every tongue, all across the world, all orchestrated at the same time. They will turn the sky into a huge movie screen, and for that to happen. And once they do this here, then they're going to get everybody pulled into this. The next step, then after that, once they realize this world chaos and all this is going on, then and the world is like you got to realize if this was going on, there'd be such panic that our governments, and this is part of the plan of Project Bluebeam, is that they will all of a sudden mass and say that there is a great invasion that's coming.
Yeah.
Did you get that?
The alien invasion.
The alien invasion is
Right.
coming, and that they're all across the land. And, whether these, now you get this is what I'm thinking about, whether this is real or not, whether they're using part of Project Bluebeam to make them see mile-wide spacecrafts and all these kind of things in the sky, people are absolutely going to be panicking.
Right.
And they're not going to know what to do in this here. And so they're going to be able to, all of us unite together under one world banner, under one world leader, and we're going to do like what Ronald Reagan said to the Russian leader. I can't think of his name right now. The one that had the
Gorbachev.
That's right, Gorbachev, and say that what will unite us will be an invasion, extraterrestrial invasion, would unite the entire world. Don't think that these people
They threw that out
hasn't
because
been
they
saying
planned
this.
ahead.
Yeah, they already know that these things
Yes,
are
they
already
have.
talking about these kind of things that are out there. So,
And I do believe that the elite in government and the elite in banking systems, they have so many things that they're considering. They've got all this technology spread out before them that they've developed and that they own, including our militaries, around the world militaries, not just ours, but ours is the world's largest, super largest military complex ever been on planet Earth. However, they're going to see these things happening, and they're going to wonder, how are these things happening? How are they projecting this? How are they making these images talk to me? This must be real. And there's going to be a drastic effect on all of humanity. And that is the only way that nations are going to surrender their sovereignty.
yeah.
Churches are going to give up their differences.
Let me throw this in here. And the thing is, what are the New World Order plans? They plan the destruction of all people who believe in the Bible.
Yeah.
Who worship Jesus Christ, and the complete disappearance of Christianity to achieve this plan. It has to go away.
You have to be able to control religion
Exactly.
if you're going to control the masses
Exactly.
of
Exactly.
humanity on this planet, because religion dictates so many people's lifestyles and so many people's ideologies. You see right now that ISIS is willing to die for what they believe about their religion. Christians historically have always been willing to die as martyrs for what they believe about Jesus Christ. All religions have an attachment to it that is more powerful than life itself.
That's right.
And until they can break that attachment to what you believe and get you to believe something different through the process of the great deception in the last days, then they can't control you.
Right. That's right.
And as long as they can't control you, they can't rule the world.
That's true.
I don't care how much money they got, brother. They can't rule the world until they rule the minds and the will of the people.
Right. And this man by the name of Sergei Monstadt, when he gave this talk about Project Bluebeam, this speech, and he was just doing a conference, and he wrote it down. It is so good that you can read. Is that now he wrote this out, or they transcribed it, and saying that, okay, what are we going to do with all these people? What are we going to do with all these people who decide that you're just not going to give up?
Yes.
Because there are going to be a lot of people like you and me. We're just not going to give up. I don't care if it happened today. We're not giving up.
When I'm out of bullets, I'll give up.
Exactly. So here's the thing: is that there's classifications that they classified these people as, and there were several classifications. One class is that they would use Christian children, and I'm going to read this here. They're going to be used as human sacrifices, where within the black mass ceremonies. You got to realize this is an occult that's leading all this. And in things like this, class 2 will be the classification of prisoners who are used in medical experiments. Get on downtown, huh?
Euthanize.
Yeah.
The
new drugs, new
deformed.
technologies to test it on humans. Number 3, the third classification is of the healthy prisoners, that for the internal human organs to be transplanted.
Yeah.
Huh? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, that'll be the Christians.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. They're going to kill you by taking everything out of you that they want to use for somebody else to live, because you're a nuisance to society right now anyway.
Yeah. Now, this is just Project Project Bluebeam and what you're hearing can be viewed in different ways. One, as totally as entertainment.
Yeah.
This is just totally entertainment, everybody. Number two, or spiritual enlightenment, or whatever you want it to see this as.
Twilight Zone.
Twilight. Woo, woo.
Yeah.
So, but this is things that people have studied.
Yeah.
It's out there, and there are people who have died over this stuff.
And, we cannot deny that this stuff is real. The only thing you can really deny is how it's going to be used.
Right.
And who is going to use it against whom or for whom. It
That's
can be
right.
good or it can be evil. And I tell you, according to the course of the world, it will be used more for evil than it ever will be for good. Just take 9/11, the airplanes, for one example. That's just one example.
That's right. And then there's classification for unhealthy, healthy underground workers for the New World Order. Number 5 are the classification for uncertain prisoners for re-education. We'll probably be re-educated, brother.
I'm past that
they're gonna
stage.
try to
Yeah, you
re-educate
can't
us.
train an old
Number
dog.
6 is the International Execution Center. Still waiting on the details of that. That's what at that time.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah. So anyway, if you go through here and you read the article, I mean, this thing is awesome. Has a lot of great information that is in it. But the steps are the archaeological breakdown that has to take place. That's step 1. Has to take place where they started using all the television programs that's been all the movies like Star Trek, Star Wars, 2001: Space Odyssey, Jurassic Park, dealing with the theory of evolution, and all these kind of things. Because when these aliens come, in the middle of all of this chaos, the aliens are going to come and say, "We're the ones who seeded the earth.
Seeded the earth.
We seeded you here, and now we're going to come in and we're going to try to straighten out all this chaos.
And bring world peace.
Submit your will over to us, and they're going to implant you with some type of little chip or something like that, little capsule or what have you, that will actually start to change your DNA, and it will be the DNA of the Nephilims. And once it starts doing that, then, of course, that's why immediately when someone takes this mark or this into their body, they can't be saved because they're genetically started being modified.
That's right.
In that. So anyway, that was like, are we doing? I'm trying to get it through pretty quick because there's a lot of information.
Then number 3 is the ELF, the extremely low frequencies and
That's right.
low frequency seismic waves, in order to control and seize the minds of the people, because they'll make you think that these are your thoughts, but actually they've been projected into your mind, and you didn't hear it with your natural ear, but it went into your mind, and your mind registered what these waves were. I was just watching a thing on television. Everything in the universe, brother, has a frequency.
Yes.
It has a vibration.
Well,
And this was a thought that came to me.
Okay.
Demons have a vibration too.
right.
And so does the Holy Spirit. All energy, all matter has a vibration.
Yeah.
So here's what I think, that if this energy that is demonic, it's different. The music that is demonic is different.
Yeah.
There's a different beat. There's a different vibration in it. So the Holy Spirit and this demonic realm will always be opposed to each other, because they will not harmonize in their vibration. The vibrations are totally separate. And so God can speak to you, and brother, he speaks to my mind.
Exactly.
Okay, so, but if I hear something else, like the devil talks to me sometimes, I'm not talking about Satan himself, but demons talk to me just like they do everybody else, and this thought comes out of nowhere, and I'm thinking, I'm going to run over somebody. And that's just an example.
Right.
And I said, that's not God. Different vibration to it, different feeling in my emotions to it. So when these people can talk to you through these low frequencies, they're going to mess some people up.
Yeah, there was an example that they gave of this ELF wave being used in New York City. They had a big marquee, a board, and it was advertising a new television program and wanted everybody to watch it. So what they did is put a speaker up, and now they start to advertise. They start to, over the radio, over the speakers. Now you can't hear this because it's so low, in low frequency, extremely low frequency. It said, "Turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around." It was turn around and look, turn around and look, turn around and look, and everybody going by.
They had it pointed at one geographical location.
Exactly.
On the sidewalk, if it's the same one I saw.
That's right, same one.
And then when they walked by, when they were in the zone of the frequency,
Woo-hoo.
It's like somebody tapped them on the shoulder and said, "Look over here."
Turn around, look over here.
Yeah,
and
it was
all of a sudden
amazing.
and it was so weird.
And they showed the speakers on top of the building
Yes.
that was projecting the sound to that location.
Right.
That would make you say, "What?
Yeah, what's going on here?"
Come on here."
Now, you and I talked about the subliminal suggestions like in movie houses and things like that, movie theaters they had, or when we were back in the day when they had drive-ins and all, eat popcorn, eat popcorn, eat popcorn. Next thing you know, everybody, all the doors open up.
Everybody, hey, you know what? This extremely low frequency, James Price is supposed to call in.
Yeah.
He might know a lot about the
ELF.
frequency because he that's his expertise. So if he'll go ahead and call in while we're on that subject, this might be a great time for him to just tune right in. It's time for him anyway. So, brother, we're looking for the light.
Yep, you get the light. We're going to put him on the radio.
We're going to be live. Brother James Price in just a minute.
So anyway, some of the things that we have seen, like this here, the extremely low frequency, you and I watched that thing today as far as the link you showed me about the holograph.
Yeah.
Boy, and that was cool there, that everything that we see is perception. Light, photons, and going into your brain.
Your brain reads it.
Yeah.
You don't really see with your eye. The vibration and the light goes into your eye, and it goes to the back of your brain where the sensory for your sight is, and then your sight, the brain interprets what you're seeing and tells the brain, the rest of the body, what you're looking at.
Exactly.
So if I'm looking at a glass of tea and I'm just thirsty, it says reach out for it. It's there. It's real.
Yeah, this is
but
amazing.
It could just as much be a hologram.
That's right.
And all of my senses would say it's real. Look at there. It's got the right color. It's got ice cubes floating in it. And you reach for it, and it's not even there.
Yeah.
We got James calling.
Here we go. Hello, caller. You're live and on the air.
This is James. I was calling in to just ask some questions. I do not have good input, but I'm more than happy to ask questions.
Well, you can hang right along here, go along with the ride with us for as long as you like anyway. So, I know you've been listening in, and we talked, a couple of days ago about this Project Bluebeam, and I know that you were doing some studies, and it was, it's kind of, let me say this here, it's hard to wrap your arms around this subject.
It's big.
Because it's big. And put it together. So the best place that I found the information about what is it is through this Sergey Monstat, SERGE MONSTAT, Project Bluebeam transcript. You can find it on the web, of course, and you can do it there as well. So anyway, do you agree with it? It's difficult to wrap your arms around this thing.
Yeah, and I'm anxious to do so. It reminds me of the movie They Live. I don't know if you guys ever saw that, but it's a movie. I think it was made in '88, and aliens are living amongst us, and nobody can see them unless they have these special sunglasses on.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
That's what it
I didn't see that, but I agree the aliens are among us already. Let me ask you a question, James. What do you know about this low frequency mind control? Have you heard anything about that in your field of study?
Extremely low.
No, I have not. And I know.
I know it's low power.
Nothing.
I know it's low power.
Extremely low
extremely
power.
low power, extremely low frequency.
And they project the sound or the words, and you don't actually perceive them with your ear. It's just like a dog whistle. You don't perceive it with your ear.
Let me tell you something. I studied about this as well. Some information I ran across on this ELF or LF frequencies and things like that is that they were able to determine whether this was whether it was being projected. That the sound that the ELF would ride into your auditory nerves, start to stimulate those nerves in your ears and start to vibrate those ears. So no sound. It's just that it's a vibration, and then all of a sudden your ears would think they're hearing this. But they were able to determine that if it was really there, the sound was there, or if it was one that they were broadcasting, it would go to either left ear or right ear. And that's how a person could determine whether it was really there or not, depending on what ear that the voice came in on. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
Because I mean, this is stuff that they have studied. Now, so let's go ahead and talk about where have they proposed using this at? Where things, Steve and I, we were talking about 9/11. And I noticed that myself about that thing being sucked into the building, and it's even as if like they turned the wings, like the plane sideways, to suck the whole thing in. It would go in like that. But here's the thing too, is I remember reading about what plans they had back in the 90s when they were getting ready to go in and overthrow Saddam Hussein, and what their plans were and they threw around on the military tables, planning schemes, was to go over Baghdad and to holograph and project a huge image of Muhammad, and calling for the people to rise up against Saddam Hussein and overthrow him. They toyed around. You know why they toyed around doing it?
Save our soldiers from going in.
But they could do it.
Yeah,
I mean, they just
could
wasn't
still.
ever talking about, let's just do a great big image up there and ha, 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 ha. No, they talked about, let's project this big image
Yep.
and get them to do this here and go in and do this as well.
But here's probably why they broke away from that idea. They don't want to give away the whole
the Project
whale.
Blue Beam, exactly.
They don't want to give away the whale just for a little fish.
That's right. That's exactly right.
They might have could have been successful, but there's too many greater plans in the future for this to be the great deception part than if you blow it now.
Right. And, of course, too, go ahead, James.
Well, I can see a zillion different great uses that the enemy would have for this type of technology. It would do things like make all of the unbelievers all over the earth yawn when the real thing did come down.
Right.
It would make them yawn when somebody was trying to appeal to them regarding the state of their soul. Yeah, I know. I've seen the Messiah show up 6 times now.
Yeah, right.
It's technology. It's technology behind the book that you're talking about. They'll disregard it, and Peter says that in I think it's in 1 Peter. He says when these people will say things haven't changed, it's the same old, same old. I cannot remember the verse.
Right.
But that's the context of it. They'll say, well, there's not been any change. This isn't anything new. It's kind of the unsaved using the Ecclesiastes. There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
And that I understand. Satan is so terribly subtle and such a huge liar that I can see him doing this. I mean, that's his way of diminishing the supernatural acts of God promised in the book of Revelation so that the regular man does not see them.
And you see in the book of Revelation where the beast, actually the image of the beast, now we're talking about an image, not the beast himself, but the image of the beast begins to talk.
Right.
And you began to see, wait a minute, I can see this now. Brother Shaffer brought this up in our conversation the other day. You can take a hologram and cover an image. And the image then is not just an image, is a holographic portrayal of the image. And the image can start moving its mouth.
Yeah.
It could move its arms. Because I think I seen on several videos the other day, they took real jets that were flying through the air and put a hologram on them and made the jet disappear.
A cloak.
It cloaked. They used the hologram as a cloak. So they had a blue sky. They project a blue hologram that matches the color of the sky, and the plane looked like it was disappearing, even though it still had the chemtrails.
Right.
We can talk about that.
Yeah.
The chemtrails still coming out the back.
Right.
The plane, brothers, disappeared.
Right.
And then it's like the beam got off center, and the front of the plane would show up.
Right.
And then they missed it again, and the back of the plane would show up.
That's what you said happened with the airplane in 9/11 going into the building. It was like part of it disappeared.
And it was,
and
it was solid gray. And then one of the projectors must have hit the corner of a building as it got close to its crash area, because suddenly part of the plane disappeared and then reappeared within about 2 seconds. And it's like something temporarily blocked the beam. And I'm telling you, if you do enough research, you'll find enough. And you hear the experts talk about the demolition and how they fell, how the buildings were built to be impregnable, hit by 3 or 4 airplanes. It would have still stood. I'm telling you, everybody, if you just do a little bit of homework, you'll come out with the same conclusion. That was not a regular plane, and the terrorists were not on board. There's just so much stuff. I don't have time to go with, but that was, I believe, one of the first biggest Project Blue Beam portrayals that deceived the world. It's already done, so they proved they can do it. I just wonder what's next.
Right. Well, listen, go ahead. You got something, James?
Well, everything that you said, I hear you, and I believe it's true from the standpoint of, will they be able to pull it off? I can't imagine them not trying to, but when you think of the immensity of them doing that on a, for instance, I know at New Year's now they're having the same music artist be on half a dozen different stages worldwide via holograms.
Yeah.
And everybody loves it. So we know that works, and that's nothing like this. As you mentioned, when they put those type of images on a giant statue or whatever the case is, even if they just shine it at the sky, I've already heard a lot of different people that I have witnessed to over the years say things like, there is no increase in earthquakes, the equipment is changing, and that's what's saying that there's more earthquakes, and all kinds of other nonsense.
I've heard that too.
It's kind of like, well, then you want to switch over to, well, what about all the sinkholes? And
where'd they come from?
Yeah, but if they're going to be closed-minded towards all of the destruction being caused all over the world, a sinkhole, it's irrelevant.
That's right.
When you get that from a person, you know that they've already closed the door.
Right.
But
that's right.
I think that the world, 99% of the world is just going to swallow this up because it's the answer that they want someone to put out there so that they can say, we were naive, we didn't know any better, we were tricked.
That's right. Well, listen, let me ask you a question here. I'm L.A. Marzulli. I think you've followed him for quite a while, so I've got a video here, a soundtrack for those who are listening, but those who are watching over the web, they can look at it. But it's about L.A. Marzulli, and he's talking about something so scary that he didn't even want to talk about it. And at the very end of the show with Josh Tolley and L.A. Marzulli, he asked about Project Bluebeam. So tell us who L.A. Marzulli is as far as how he has impacted your life and who he is. Can you do that?
Yeah, I will. I think he is a fantastic God follower, and I think he and others like him, they travel the country, they write books, they pray to God, they study God's Word, they study the lost books, they study the archaeological evidence, and I think that they are the final wave of, they're not really working to see the unchurched come to Christ, although that is definitely an appeal, but they are trying to show the church, wake up, wake up, wake up, it's almost over.
Right.
And L.A. Marzulli is one of those people. I understand from reading his bio and things like that, he came from a Catholic family, but he went through the whole 60s era with the drugs and all that and was very much into the New Age religions, and he saw demonic stuff occurring with this fellow that he was following. And so then God began revealing himself. Well, he and some of the others, like I'll just throw some names out, Tom Horn, Steve Quell.
Chuck Missler.
Yeah.
Chuck
Missler, super smart guy.
Trey Smith.
Trey Smith. There's some smart people out there.
Rob Skibba.
Yes, sir. They're not accepted in a typical church setting, although churches are beginning to have them come because churches are waking up.
Yeah.
Yep.
My thing is churches wake up because the Bible says in the end times you're still going to exist and you're going to tell your membership this is not the Antichrist.
Right.
Do what he says. He's bringing world peace.
Yeah.
He's ended the terrorism that has been plaguing the Christian church. He's coming to fix things. If he wants you to go and put your name down at this location, which just happens to be a FEMA camp, it's not going to get you into the guillotine. And it's the churches, I believe, which will be guilty of what God says about the end times prophecies in the book of Revelation, Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13. Those things are going to come to pass, but you don't want you don't want any of God's people. You don't want anybody to go into it blindly. Although the Bible says, and you can see this all around us now, they will go into it blindly.
Yeah.
Right.
So L.A. Marzulli is somebody that is a really bright light in the dark, and
he feeds a lot. He feeds a lot of people who's just getting into this. So I recommend Acceleration TV. You can find that on a YouTube or Google that Acceleration TV. LAMarzulli.net. Go there and look at. He does a Watcher series, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think maybe 8, 9, 10. I'm not sure where he's at now.
Well, he's coming out with his 10th one, and I'll tell you the first 9 movies are extremely intense to where my wife and daughter they excuse themselves from time to time because it's scary to them.
Yeah.
But it is still all true. It's not hyped, and these things are going on nowadays.
Yeah. So
you've got to be prepared.
Let's listen to him here. We got about 15 minutes before we got to close out the program here. So I'm going to go run him for just a few minutes, and he's being asked about Project Bluebeam. Now, when he gets off of it, then we'll stop and come back to you, okay? So you're still going to be live on the radio with us here, but here we go.
All right. Yes, sir.
All right, we are talking to L.A. Marzulli. Once again, the website, lamarzulli.net, LAMARZULLI.net. Books, articles, all that sort of stuff. Just go there and grab everything he's got because, man, this rabbit hole is deep. Now, I promised the audience, L.A., that before I let you go, I would ask about Project Bluebeam because everybody keeps asking about it. So what is it and why should we care?
Well, Bluebeam is very interesting. Allegedly, it's cooked up by the government, black ops, whatever, dark forces in the government. And what many people believe Bluebeam is able to do is create holographic images. So where you're looking up at the sky and you'll see a mile-wide craft, but there really isn't anything there. That's just Project Bluebeam working. We heard about this. We understand what it is. People talk about the false UFO invasion and all this stuff being created by Project Bluebeam. And I understand that and get that. And Bluebeam will certainly, play into the end time scenario on some level. However, the sightings that many pilots have seen, many witnesses, I mentioned Ricky Sorrell in Stephenville, Texas, mile-wide craft seen by multiple witnesses. Dr. Lynn Katai, Phoenix Lights, 1997, mile-wide craft over the city. The former governor, Fife Symington, 10 years later on Larry King, stated that it was real. He was there, and he apologized to his former constituents for making light of it. That wasn't Bluebeam. So while they have the technology with Bluebeam to create holographic images, which can deceive a whole lot of people, on the other hand, you've got the real deal. You've got the Phoenix Lights, which weren't warthogs throwing down flares. That's not what we saw. Flares don't react that way. And we've got too many witnesses in Phoenix.
Okay, I'm going to take it back right there because that was his, he didn't get a lot into Project Bluebeam, but he says it's going to play a part. You can deceive many people, large mass of people. And here's the deception to me, just by knowing what I know now. And what he's saying is that when I see something, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, that is the double-edged sword of information and disinformation, and the person who is playing both sides of the deck is going to come out with a winning hand.
Exactly.
Because if you can play the information and the disinformation, and you can't tell the difference most of the time unless you're actually physically there and can touch this thing.
That's right. Because
the holograms are just that realistic. Then they have you where they want you. They can put you and your understanding on either side of the fence.
Yeah, you and next thing you know, you hear something talking to you.
Yeah. So that spiritual discernment that the Bible talks about is so critical in these last days.
That's the elect not being deceived.
That's
if
right.
possible, the elect would be deceived if the days weren't shortened. So, I see that as well. But I
think also important to that is, God's elect, they are going to have to arm themselves not with just prayer and understanding the Bible, but they're going to have to arm themselves with things like an infrared camera. And
wow, that's a good idea.
You've got to have technologies that would show you, is this my eyeballs or is this does it really exist?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, here's one thing. I got a couple of notes here I just want to plug in here real quick. You're talking about having this holographic image so it's everywhere, like you were talking about across the world.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I see. Now, I could be totally wrong in this, but I'm just going to put this out because it came to mind. All these churches who now have their pastors who are beamed in every Sunday, and they have one pastor, and they have 15 campuses or 20 campuses across the state, and they do their praise and worship and get up, and now this man is beamed in and he preaches his message and it goes away. Do you know what that's setting you up for? I mean, you're setting you up just exactly what you're talking about, is to be able to put that person in every church,
Anywhere.
anywhere,
At any time.
anytime, all across, and we're conditioning our people to be able to do that instead of having a church with a pastor who's ministering to that congregation live. That's one thing I got to say. Second thing is, years ago, I had a dream, and in this dream, I was traveling down the road in a vehicle, and I looked out my window and I looked up to the sky, and in the dream, I saw the sky that was blue turn to a television screen, and saw a rider on a white horse go across the sky. Huge. This thing was huge. Mm-hmm. This thing was gigantic, going across the sky and galloping across the sky as if it was as Jesus was coming. You understand what I mean? Or whoever the rider on the white horse is.
But you knew it was a television type scenario and not reality.
Exactly. I knew that sky had been turned to like it was a television screen. And now I go back to this week and I start thinking, oh, that is what I think I saw.
Yeah.
Then, and I didn't understand it. But now I think I see how that they can take that image in the sky and absolutely make it a television screen to make it project anything they want, to make you think, what are you expecting to see? Well, that's what you're going to see, and it's going to deceive you and make you think that this is the event for everybody else. Got 9 minutes. James, you got something for us?
No, I hear what you're saying, and the sad thing is, and I'm not saying that this is entirely wrong, but if a church member is tuned in to a Christian radio station where they're doing the same old, in these time periods, we have got to believe God's word and get behind, get our information. If we're not truly salty, if we're not being the salt of the earth, then we are not going to be prepared. And you guys are being great salt. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
But boy, Joe, church member out there, is clueless because he'd rather listen to the regular typical pastors on the radio that will not say this stuff. If we know that the church has not been salty for the last couple of generations,
right, they lost the power and
their
their impact. Right.
That's right, and we're still doing the same old thing. That means the church is not really a church; it's a social club, and it can't stay a social club. The Bible says, if it were not for the very elect, the time wouldn't be shortened.
Right.
Well, it makes me just cringe for all the people that think that they're safe, and they are not safe.
That's right.
Here's what I hear you saying, and I kind of resonates in my spirit, is this great deception is coming because the church is no longer relevant, because we haven't stayed up with the thinking, we haven't stayed up with the archaeology, we haven't noticed these elongated skulls. We don't know that the seam in the skulls of these what's the word I'm looking for?
Are not human.
They're not human. Yeah, they are a cross breed, and so if you're not staying up with what God is showing us from science. I mean, some people say throw science out. Is that no?
You better not.
You can't throw science out because God.
That's what
works
the devil's going to use too.
On
right.
mathematical scales. God
Right.
knows everything about vibration. He built this whole planet.
Right.
And there are things that are true and that we've figured out and we can use. And that if the church keeps resisting them, what happens is we go back to the dark ages. the rest of the world around us advances in all of these things, and we keep saying, no, we can't, we can't do this to the body, we can't do this to the mind, and so we just neglect it, and we become irrelevant to a world that's fast changing.
Well, see, let me tell you something
That's
that's always happened to us. Like in what I've been pastoring a long time, but my background in instrumentation and electrical, working in a plant, and the plant I worked at was new technology was brought in. I mean, we were like on the cutting edge of all the new technology. So, I mean, other plants may not have heard of it yet, but we were doing it. We were like the prototypes on a lot of the things, new things being brought in. Mm-hmm. So we were constantly learning. Here's a new thing, here's a new thing, here's a new thing. And just because I left from there doesn't mean that drive or those kind of things doesn't now work. I'm telling you what, there's a lot happening in the Bible. There's a lot happening in the world, and the world is constantly changing. And if you think that it's just like you've got to stay up with it. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You've got to continually be taking in the information of the Bible as well.
Yeah,
the Bible as well. But if you don't, my people perish for lack of knowledge, and that's what's going to happen. Is they're not going to realize what's going on all around them, and all the pastors, that's a bunch of hogwash over there. And they're going to realize that they don't know what's taking place themselves.
Well, let me give you something that's happened in my lifetime and your lifetime.
Okay.
America used to be #1 exporter of cloth. We had the technology. We had a cotton mill in every little town. Graniteville was one of the oldest ones around this world, and we had that technology. We got on the cutting edge of it because we got that from Europe, brought it over from Europe. When we began to work in it, we had the latest technology. The reason we fell out is because the Japanese invented better technology, and they began to produce the cloth cheaper overseas. And now there's hardly a cloth mill in the United States of America anymore. It's all produced overseas. But one time we were #1. What happened? We let technology run ahead, and others got it, and we didn't.
Right.
And the devil will do the same thing. He'll take all this technology and run with it, and we'll look like we're back in the dark ages. And this new generation will look at us and say, "Well, y'all not even relevant anymore.
Exactly.
Y'all not even y'all not in the digital world. You don't know nothing. You still don't even have a microphone in the church."
I'm gonna tell you what. You go to church and you start speaking about demons, Nephilims. You start talking about their programs these kids are seeing. All of a sudden, you'll see them go. They'll change and realize.
Kids will catch on to it.
They'll say, "This is relevant to my world.
Yep.
This is the Bible into my world. This is how the Bible plays into your world." Okay, I'm gonna be quiet and let y'all finish on up.
Go ahead, Brother James.
We got about 4 minutes, James.
Well, I like what you're saying, and you nailed it. And the point is, the church has stepped down from being the most relevant source. It was done gradually in previous, starting in the 1800s, really. And so we don't even have a template that we're used to. We don't really know the way out. And biblically, there is no way out. But as God's people, we have to follow Him, be obedient to Him, and be salt for those few people that'll listen. The big scary thing is when some of this stuff starts happening, whether it's real or unreal, whether that lost person has a camera that will be able to distinguish whether or not this image they're looking at is real or not, they're going to take this to a church, and the church people are going to go, "Well, I don't know, but
I don't know nothing about it."
Here, and we'll talk about 1 Timothy tonight.
Right.
Irrelevant. Yeah.
It's sad because salt is supposed to be salty, and God says that we are not going to be when that time comes, and we are here because I bet I could. We have 1,000 pastors that are clients of our station, or I'm not of our station, of our company, and I bet that I could call probably 900 of them and them not know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can call us anytime. I think we got an idea.
Yeah.
That's right. Right. So you make up that very narrow. You're the backbone of that narrow group that does understand.
Well, we're just covering this state over here. God's got us over here covering this state in this area anyway.
I hear you. and see the flock is being led astray by these men that are going to receive a double judgment, but they don't even know that they are out of line with God's word.
Right.
All right. Well, Brother
All right.
James,
Well,
we
thank you,
sure
brother.
appreciate you coming on, be with us again this week. Thank you so much. God bless you.
It's great to talk to you both.
Thank you. God bless
Bye-bye.
you, Steve. James, we'll do it again.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
So, brother, this is about the drawdown of another great hour. I hope that our listening audience has been challenged to think out of the box and that they will themselves do some research on Project Blue Beam for the end time deception, and they will also look up and see about this really low frequency mind control and stimulus to the brain that causes you to think and act the way they want you to.
What's that scripture that Jesus said? He says that when they say, "Lo, he's over here,"
But
and
don't
he's
go.
over there, don't go, don't believe it. Don't believe all that. No, he's over here, go over there. Don't believe all that. I think that's what I hear going through, resonating in my head right now. All right.
All right, goodbye. We'll see you next time, Brother Shaffer. Get us out of here.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening to Project Bluebeam today. I've been your host, Henry Shaffer, Steve Hall. Make sure you tune in next week to Project SEER, and God bless you, and thank you for all that you do here. Thank you for tuning in today. We've been your hosts, Henry Shaffer and Steve Hall. The end times are here. Anything is possible. Are you ready? Don't miss the next episode of Special Edition End Time Revelation.